All right, what is happening, people? This is kind of an exciting podcast. I'm coming in hot. I got a lot of energy. It's early in the afternoon and we're making progress and I am sitting down with my guy, Sean Flanagan, who is my at this point I would say like my co-production producer, make it happen, pedal to the metal, shut the fuck up and get something done conspirator. I mean, is that the title for this guy? I don't know. But we're talking about Public Domain, this animated show. People are starting to learn about it. We want to talk more about it, our passion about it, and stuff like that. Sean, tell everybody, how did we really come up with it? How did we fall upon Public Domain? I know we had so many conversations, but what was the kind of trigger pulling moment and where you sat down and were like, "Oh wow, this is going to happen. I'm writing this."
Yeah, fuck. So you had brought me a pitch that I believe you and Lee came up with about Disney princesses and how terrible the casting process was. And I was like, friggin' A, yeah, let's go. That sounds really great. But I couldn't find a way in on like what does 100 episodes look like? So I sat, we moved on, we talked about other projects, we started packaging 57 movies, 18 other TV shows, and then straight up in the middle of the night one night, I couldn't sleep. I was watching Cheers. I was probably not sober, and I was like, "Oh, that's what it is." In the back of my head, I've had this like, I want to make Casablanca, but I don't know what to do with it. And you had these, I'm a Disney princess, but I didn't get the role. I was like, great, let's put those two things together. And I think literally 24 hours later, I was like, hey, so don't think I'm crazy, but I wrote a TV pilot and I need you and all your friends to be in it. So let's go.
Yeah,
And here we are.
I feel like that's exactly how it happened, and I'm like grateful that it did because for so long I've always had Lee and I have always kicked around the idea of like we just love Disney. Number one, we love Disney songs, all the animation, we all have kids, all these things, but like what's the other side of that look like? You know what I'm saying? Like with that style of like, hey, this is a poppy cartoon. Like what does the other side of it look like was always enticing to me. You sitting down and starting to spit out concepts prove to us that a show like Public Domain can not only last forever, it can last forever without replaying and reiterating past episodes. Like really fresh new concepts walk in the door. And the amount of characters that are public domain that we all grew up with, that we want to
Yeah.
see more of, right? Show me more of the story, the unwritten story of these characters, past characters. I just think it's an amazing idea, and I everybody I talk to about it is immediately on board. They're immediately excited because they get it, right? You get it.
Yeah, we
It's
all grew up with the Pearl Case Disney movies. We all love all that stuff. But now that we're 40, 50, whatever, and we're all wildly dysfunctional adults, what do? We either watch them with our kids, we sort of feel inappropriate for watching them. We're like, yeah, you know what? That character's kind of hot now because that's my entrance point. Or we do something where we get to make our own story. And with public domain characters, every year we get a new wave of crazy characters that are going to be available to us. We're like 5, 6, 7 years from Superman and like the real legitimate global superheroes becoming public domain, which means we get to make our version of Superman if we can just last about a decade.
And you and I have talked publicly kind of about some of the characters kind of in the pilot episode, but we haven't even elaborated. I don't even think people are aware at how many characters from different shows, movies, this or that. Even I was looking into recently characters from advertisements, things like this, that are public domain, that are like complete nostalgia, that feeling at home moment for so many people. I The list goes on, and I mean, should we list some? Like what offhand do you know? Let's talk about some that are outside of kind of the ones we've mentioned so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess why they're so famous is they're everywhere. There's Santa Claus, there's Sherlock Holmes, there's mythology like Hercules and Zeus. Um, Almost all the Disney princesses, Quasimodo, Frankenstein, Dracula. Basically, if a character is more than 100 years old, odds are it's up for grabs. That's why you're
One.
seeing all these crazy new horror movies like Winnie the Pooh, Blood Forest, is people like, great, let's get a character you know and then fuck them up.
Yeah,
I mean, our list is dozens. Lancelot, King Arthur, Guinevere, Three Little Pigs, King Kong, uh, John Carter of Mars.
you know
I
what's
mean,
so
it
cool
literally just
is
goes on and on.
we know so many of these characters, but we haven't really looked at them through the lens that public domain kind of examines them through. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the day to day of these survivors, these long lost Hollywood icons? You know, like what does it look like? What's their conversation at the bar in between talking about whatever the next reinvention of their character they're waiting for? It spawns so many ideas. It's just
Yeah, I
wild.
mean,
I just want to see
I
these
hate to
characters interact
pretend.
so bad.
Yeah, I hate to pretend that we're going to teach anybody anything, but the one thing that I learned that blew my mind is Sherlock Holmes has a Guinness World Record for being adapted. I think it's like over 25,000 times. Imagine being a character like if you, Matt, were Sherlock Holmes and you had been rebooted 25,000 times, where somebody's like, hey, I want a Sherlock Holmes with pimples. I want a black Sherlock Holmes. I want a gay Sherlock Holmes. I want a regional theater Southern Sherlock Holmes. Like, we can literally have an episode where there are 25,000 Sherlock Holmes just sitting around arguing with each other about who can solve the mystery correctly because they've been adapted and it's got to be every possible iteration, including Martians.
Dude, the metaverse opportunities within the public domain. Holy shit balls. Have you
Yeah,
even
where's meta? Like what we should be building a video game world where you're just Sherlock Holmes beating up other Sherlock Holmes.
but think about that could exist with any other character. There can be different versions of that character, you know? This
Oh
is
yeah.
like 12 different Santas, you know, different piggy Santa, baby Santa, this Santa, that Santa. It's
Oh
great.
yeah, it's like make your own avatar with like 100 different combinations, and if somebody has your exact version, you're not allowed to be that version. You have to tweak it again so that if you actually entered a metaverse, you're like, well, I'm the Santa Claus with a lazy eye, a gimp leg, a zit on the tip of my nose, and I only speak in soliloquy. And you're like, okay, cool. Welcome to the friggin' party, dude. Like, go meet all the other Santa Clauses that are out there.
Like I really hate to say it, but I mean, as if Deadpool or Wolverine needs any more praise, but the moment when you see 12,000 versions of Deadpool is quite hilarious. And to think of some of these iconic characters in public domain like that, it's just amazing. I want to see it. I know everybody wants to see. Imagine the crowd of Deadpools in the movie Deadpool Wolverine and put some of our public domain characters. So Santa's standing there with 1,000 Santas, Cthulhu with 1,000 Cthulhus. Like the imagery alone, I don't even care
Yeah.
what they say. God bless them if they say something funny. You know what I'm saying? You add comedy to those visuals of these characters. It's just incredible, man. It's entertainment at its best.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why it's like Simpsons is on episode like 800. And I mean, you could argue that they are still going for better or worse, but like we could legitimately have an entire season around a character. We could have new characters every season. Like, this is an endless world for us to just get high, look at a board full of pictures and be like, why haven't we done gay Southern Hitler reincarnation, Boys from Brazil, starring Quasimodo, the regional theater, directed by King Arthur and Lancelot? He's
And
like, all right. it might be terrible, but that sounds like a hell of an episode to swing for.
The best part about it is you didn't have to prepare that sentence. That's what public domain feeds and breeds. It breeds wild storylines with wild characters. It absolutely does, and it's like a creative stomping ground in it, and it's in the best way, you know?
Yeah, my I hate to give credit to not the creators of the show, but my favorite version of a character we've come up with is from Andy.
Yeah.
You were just sitting there after dinner one night telling her about this crazy thing, and I think you mentioned Little Mermaid, or maybe she started it, and all of a sudden she was pitching her version of Little Mermaid, and it very quickly led to a mermaid in a wheelchair with a hydrogen tank taking huffs and just been because she wants to be on Earth or on land. She wants to be with her boyfriend. She wants to do all those things, but she likes being a mermaid enough that she's in a wheelchair. She can't walk. She's got a tank, like you would see an old lady at a casino huffing oxygen, except now she's a crazy mermaid pervert on land living in a koi pond in the backyard of the bar. It's absolutely my favorite character in the show so far.
And it's
And it
absolutely the version of a Little Mermaid character that you want to see because it doesn't
Yeah.
work. It doesn't fit. It shouldn't be a thing. It shouldn't work. And there she is, full representation, showing up like it's a perfect character. I mean, it really is. I'm the same way. I feel the same way about it. As soon as she told me, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is exactly what it needs to be."
Well, I think that's what makes great TV shows. I mean, I'm first and foremost just a nerd that loves consuming this shit, but like 30 Rock and Friends and Cheers and like all these super famous iconic shows are what if you took X number of people who shouldn't exist in the same world and then forced them to continually exist in the same world? And you just have crazy personalities. Even It's Always Sunny is like, yeah, technically they're what are they, five assholes? But they're five assholes that should only exist by themselves. And
Yeah.
then you lock them in a room and you just wait for one of them to be like, what if we did a thing? And then it literally cuts to like the gang films a porno or the gang robs the Liberty Bell or whatever. And
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, cool. Yeah. Once you know that they're all wildly dysfunctional, you just have to put a premise in front of them and you've got a great episode.
I
That's
couldn't.
good
I,
TV, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's like it lends itself to so many fun things from like comics to action figures to just all the things that you kind of that existed when you were a kid that maybe you went and put a quarter in one of those like spinny machines, at the grocery store or whatever, and you got this little thing of the character. It's a little I don't know. All of it screams that nostalgic like 80s, 90s, 2000s, even way before clearly because there's older characters public domain, but like just that cool time that's like so vintage to so many people now. You know what I'm saying? But it was such a unique time of like VHS tapes just before the iPhone. Like there was so many interesting characters during that time and that are going to come out of that time and that people our age miss. So much. And the great part about it is it's not just people our age. The younger generation knows these characters as well, which is makes it really cool. Um, it's going
I've
to be
never even
iconic.
thought about it. It's like, I mean, we're only a couple years apart, but like we've been conditioned for the multiverse since at least the Ninja Turtles. Is like, I don't know about you, but I had like Cowabunga Pizza Michelangelo, Surfer Rock Michelangelo, like Electric Boogaloo Chinese Michelangelo. Like that we've grown up, I've grown up on toys where it's like you don't have a complete collection unless you have 34 of that guy
Yeah.
in every outfit, color, combination, or variant possible. It's like, yeah, no wonder why we're all getting our rocks off to Deadpool and multiverses now. It's like, yeah, you grew up with 15 of the same character, all looking at each other, being like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, do I have all eight of my Princess Leias make out with each other? Like, what are we going to do with this? It's like you don't put
Absolutely.
one away and be like, oh, actually, we're gonna save that outfit for Tuesday and we'll only play with Slave Leia today. You're like, no,
Yeah.
you have 8 Leias, and you're like, all right, what do I do now?
Like
And
my
now
son,
here
my
we
son's
are
even
with
got a
the
bunch of
show.
those now, like different ones of them. Like where he's got like what's his name, Jack Skellington. He's got like 12 different Jack Skellingtons that doing different stuff from different things, wearing
Yeah, it's
different
like this
shit.
one's got a bow tie and this one's got suspenders. And you're like, wow, what a fundamentally different playing experience I have. But if you deprive them of it, you're all of a sudden a monster.
Yeah, no,
But
look.
we grew up with it. I mean, the turtles go back, what, 35 years, give or take? It's like, I legit, those were the first toys that I like as a little kid. I'm like, I need to collect them all or I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And now here we are making a show where there are straight up episodes where like Sherlock Holmes will get killed and then immediately be rebooted with another Sherlock Holmes. And they're
Yeah.
like, hey, what just happened to you? And he's gonna take his hat off and he's like, look, I'm blonde now. And then put his hat back on and he's gonna look like this same guy because he's got a hat on.
And
And you're
then
like, oh, I got rebooted. It turns out blondes are more fun. And you're
and
like,
then
cool,
the
there's half an episode plot line right there.
the other half of that like amazing thing, like having the multi-character thing. I just realized I was saying metaverse earlier. Not a shout out to Facebook
I
or
took it super literally. I was like, yeah, let's make a
sh
metaverse video game. I
when
just
my
hard pitched Zuckerberg.
when my excitement starts making me talk complete bullshit, Sean, you have to say, Matt, you're not making sense. Don't support it and try to correct it.
No, I thought it was a lucrative ancillary business model where we're like, yeah, metaverse could absolutely license the concept of this for like $1 million a year.
Um, anyways, the thing I was going to say is the other side of having these multiple versions of the characters is where the show takes place. You know what I'm saying? It's in a bar for whatever reason. Everybody feels at home in a bar. You go there when you're sad, and you go there when you're happy, and you go there for conversations new and old and everything in between, for every moment to heal everything, to grow, to birth, to all this stuff. So the center of our show is this bar, and I think just like when Homer goes into the bar in The Simpsons, right? Like there's this like some weird comfort to it. But our show, our bar is like it's really like the thumping heartbeat of all the where all these characters go to deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's just another thing. You know, I'm bringing out for the first time this weekend in Orlando. I'm going to be in the vendors room raising money for public domain through our Indiegogo campaign. And I am going to do get thrown out by the bar manager selfies. And we'll have some public domain. And this is kind of, I'm just announcing to you actually, Sean, because the guy just texted me. We will have public domain coasters and koozies
I
along
want
with
a
the
koozie.
get thrown out by the bar manager selfie, which I'll be in costume, by the way. I don't know if I sent you, but I got a shirt and a apron.
I
Um,
mean, I assume just leave the gun show out and you'll probably make like 3 times as much money.
all right, so maybe we're cutting the sleeves off the polo bar shirt. We're still wearing an apron. Maybe it's just an apron. I don't know. Bring your money. Help us fund this beautiful project. All fucking body parts are on sale. I apologize, young people. This is just Hollywood now. This is what it is.
We're very active. We're pro organ harvesting as long as it's consensual.
As long as there's great art and good comedy involved.
But no, I mean, to blow more smoke up our ass, I was like, public domain, you could look at it and be like, this is so high concept, I don't get it. What are you talking about reboots and public domain? But whenever it gets complicated, it gets simple again. You
Yeah.
know what a sitcom in a bar looks like. We've all watched Cheers and New Girl and Simpsons and Moe's, but like there's 50 famous bars on TV. They're like, oh, when Peter and the guys go on Family Guy to whatever the hell they call that bar.
Yeah.
And like, I know what's going to happen. They're going to sit around that table. They're going to nerd out. Peter's going to come up with a crazy idea and it's going to cut off into a magical adventure that obviously goes wrong. So, like, whenever we've got 50 million characters and 50 million versions, but also it's just a show at a bar. It's
Yeah.
just about a bunch of drunks that want to be famous again and they sit around getting into trouble until one of them becomes famous again.
Yeah.
So whenever it gets hard, we make it easy.
Yeah.
We're the anti-Viagra. We're easy to swallow.
That's going on the poster.
So hard it'll make you soft again.
Mm, wow.
That one might need some development. We'll put that back in the kicker for a while.
Let's just not think about it and release it. That's what I like to do. I'm a kamikaze. I'm the kamikaze pitch line guy. Um, yeah, I think either way, what's really cool also is everybody have asked, and not only people that aren't actors or voice talent or whatnot, everybody I've talked to about it has been like, wow, this is so cool, this is so cool. And then all of my supernatural posse of homie actors that I am on the road with at these conventions constantly, everybody's like, yeah, of course I'll do it. And the beauty in kind of putting together the project is it's easy lifting as far as the actors work. I can really go to them and we can make so much happen. It's heavy lifting for our animation team that we end up, developing this with. But every actor's like, yeah, I want to play those characters. Oh, yeah, I want to play several versions of those characters. Yeah, I'll lend my voice to play multiple different characters. Everybody wants to get on board of this, and they are all familiar. As an artist, when you sit down, they hand you a script, and you're like, who's this character, right? McConaughey has this great thing where he says, "What's your character's like? What's that one line that you own the character, right?" And whatchamacallit, it was high school girls. He gets older, they stay the same age. That was like the defining line for him. So you gotta kind of like figure out something along those lines. Sorry, hold on.
Well, you've even mentioned while you apparently go to town on yourself,
I almost
you've
just fell out of my
suggested
chair.
an actor, and I'm like, no, I think this guy should do this voice because they match, and it's like the version you expect.
You're
And
right.
then you're like, hey, what if this other completely different human being were to take a swing at that character? And there have been a couple points and a couple specific actors in mind that I won't name in case they don't want to be part of our show.
Mm.
Like it'll be 2 in the morning, and granted, I'll be like, I can't sleep. I'm a little strung out. My mind is racing. The world's falling apart. And then I'll just all of a sudden hear like the gay Southern version of Cthulhu. And I'm like, oh, is is that what that character should be like? To be like, hey guys, I'm about to fuck y'all up right now. I got mountains of madness everywhere. I'm like, oh, it's like, do we need to rewrite the pilot and like maybe be even more in your face and up your ass with how crazy we are?
I
Because
think we I
we've
think
done these
we
unexpected pairings that are so fun.
I think there's a world where after we film the pilot or as we film the pilot, we have an outtake episode probably where it's it sticks in a medium shot or a close up and we let the character riff a little bit.
That is so good for business to like, let's literally take the entire pilot, animate it, but we'll have a second episode that everybody swaps roles.
Yeah. Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
like, let's have, who's somebody we've like Bree. Let's
Yeah.
have Bree do like Cthulhu
Yeah.
or like literally turn it on its head. And then at the end, we just add a tag and like your character wakes up and is like, what a freaky ass nightmare. It's like
Yes.
now we've got 2 episodes out of one animation, which unfortunately is the expensive hard part.
Yeah.
But everybody gets to do 2 versions of 2 different characters. And it's just like,
Interesting. Gosh, I want to see it. I want to see it right now. I want to watch it. I want to see it.
yeah, we need some likes, subscribes, and donates so that we can now apparently use the same animation twice and
That's
make
right.
double the money.
And
What
we're
what?
and we're talking about non-AI generated animation where people do it. We're actually working with the very famous within the fandom circle, Scout. She's a lovely artist and she's working on some stuff for us right now that's really, really cool. Uh, I mean, that I think the passion for me is that Like I'm like kind of like a hot topic geek, you know? Like I love all the character shirts and all the character Funkos and all that type of like shit. And I think this show has like one quarter of the Hot Topic store is just full of public domain swag. I hate to say it, it just is.
It's it's on brand. I mean, I guess that's the nice part about being a filmmaker is we're already freaks.
And
Our
you
parents
want,
don't know what to do with us. They're like, when are you gonna get a real job? And like, what if my real job was basically taking all the toys that I played with as a kid and bashing them together and making a whole bunch of money
and
and make a whole bunch of people happy?
And it's the twisted person in every one of us that we want to speak to when we're calling you to come see the shit talking versions of your favorite characters. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
just that alone is a good enough pitch line to sell this show. Just come see the shit talking versions of your PG character and how the struggle exists in cartoon land also.
Well, yeah, I feel like every once in a while you get a bad Santa, but it still has to be like mainstream and it has to be Hollywood and like he has to learn a lesson at the end of the day. It was like, no. What if Santa was Norm or Cliff from Cheers? He sat in the corner and he never learned a friggin' lesson. Like, and that's what's great about something like It's Always Sunny. Like, they don't learn. No, nobody wants to watch the show where they learn a lesson and become better people.
Yeah.
If that's what we want to watch, we would just watch Parks and Rec and Schitt's Creek, which are
Yeah.
amazing, but they ain't got Santa Claus writing a screenplay and chain smoking and doing shots off a girl's body.
Guess what? We do.
Oh, we do. We're gonna have so many versions. And honestly, now in my head, I'm like, cool. How do we do that second version of the episode where everybody trades voices?
I mean,
That's as
I
for
don't think
all
it's that
intents and
difficult, and it's
purposes.
very entertaining. It's entertaining as just a filmmaker, just to be on the other side of it and go, "Oh, wait, let me nudge some of my friends into some directions on these characters and see what they come up with." That's the cool thing about the Supernatural gang too, is that number one, they all have there's such a unique sound, dialect, voice tone, range, all these different things, and they're so distinctly different. Is really, really, really going to give a depth and dynamic to each of these characters with this kind of cast we got lined up. And I'm excited to in success make more episodes and show all the fans what type of talent wants to hop on board something like this, because it is really from the talent side of it, voiceover work is really fun, it's really daring, you can really go there, you can really challenge yourself, and when you get to play a version or recreate a character, an iconic character. Man, that's a dream role. I hate to say it, like it's a dream role. It sounds cliche, like what's your dream role? My dream role is to play Santa Claus in 75 different voices or dialects, backgrounds. Like I don't know. I always used to say Captain Jack Sparrow was my dream role, but is that not something like Santa Claus in public domain? Like he's got some pieces of Jack Sparrow deep in
There's a
him.
version of them. There's a
Yeah,
variant,
these
and
roles are
there's nothing
fun.
like a nice all-American boy named Cohen playing a fucked up version of Santa Claus.
Listen, we might pull Tom Hanks in to play Jesus or something. We never know where this is going to develop.
George Clooney voiced a dog on like the second episode of South Park just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, we're going to
All
have
it
some of
takes
those.
is the right pitch.
When we drop those cameo voice bombs, people are going to lose it and love it all in the same 15 seconds. It's going to be great. I mean, and as we go on, the more people first of all, everybody I run into and I talk to about it wants to be part of it. So, with success as we continue, I'm just excited to see what kind of random characters are brought to life by some of these talented actors that we know, kind of in and
Well, I
around
have
us.
to give you credit too. Years before I met you, I was a Supernatural fan. All I had to hear was two hot guys listening to classic rock killing monsters.
Yeah.
I watched that entire show not knowing that I'd ever be dealing with any of you people, let alone being like, "Hey, will you come play my freakazoid characters in an animated cartoon and having basically blanket like, yeah, what do you want? Sure, that sounds awesome. Let's do it.
You know what? It's a very unique group of people, and I've not worked with another cast similar to it where everybody is really supportive of each other's individual projects, whether it's music, film, or TV or whatnot. I mean, everybody has had separate success in so many different directions, and the reason being is that everybody shows up for each other. And if the material's good, if the content's good, I always say, and again, with the cliche actory bullshit, but like, it starts on the page, and it really does, because if there's a story there, if there's a character there, if I can care about anybody there for a second, oh wow, then now you have the gift of going, wow, there's something here. Let me add it, let me color it up, let me paint it, let me shape it, let me curve it. And this group of people, they'll not only support me, right? And I've asked the world of the supernatural actors. Thank you 100 times over. You guys know that I want to be the hardest working guy so we could all be successful, do projects together. And they not only say yes, Cohen, yes, Cohen, yes, Cohen. They all, in all their different voices, they show up and deliver. Like
Yeah.
Lee and I made a short film called Hard Crime a long time ago, and Rich showed up and did a 1 day cameo as a villain. And it was for nothing. Lee and I were having a good time. We're trying to find our brand, figure out our style. Rich came up and knocked it out of the park. And then, they would in exchange call me for their projects, right? Then Rich and Rob did Kings of Con, and the whole cast of Supernatural is in Kings of Con. Many of those same people are going to be voicing our characters. This group travels, and everything they do, it's really successful because they care, and it's really successful because they show up, and they have good intent. Again, I have not had another cast that was so thoroughly great human beings. Like, they make me, when I show up at a convention, I'm like, all right, Matt, make sure you're doing good because you're around a bunch of good people. I mean, they make me a better, husband and friend and dad and all this shit, but they also are so wildly talented. It's the most fortunate thing ever that I look a little bit like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It gets right back to that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, they're all so talented and their characters are so distinct. They're so distinct as people. Like, you can't compare a Ruth Connell. I don't know anybody that you could compare to in that universe or out of it. Like, they're great. They took crazy characters and did crazy things with them on that show, and then they've continued to keep doing crazy things in other projects. I mean, who would think? I remember watching the episode, the fan fiction episode, where they're like, hey, Supernatural is a bunch of books written by this weird little pervert played by Rob Benedict.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, what a weird, like, kind of wink wink at the audience. And then a year later, they do a convention episode. And then a year later, they imply that he might be God. And then 5 years later, he is God. And then 5 years after that, because the show went on for 57 years, he's God. He's the bad guy. He's the main villain of the series. And he's still that weird little pervert who wrote the fan fiction books. And like, you can't ask for characters like that, and they found the best people to play them.
I
And
mean,
now we're
that
gonna make those little freakazoids our little freakazoids.
I am with you 100 freaking percent. And Rich and Rob and I'll talk about this on stage a lot, but they're like, like favorite projects to work on and favorite roles. And it's really hard to even compare anything to Supernatural because not only do you come on and you play these quirky, campy, but also very heartfelt characters. You know what I'm saying? Like, really thoroughly, their hearts beat for each other. They beat for these boys and their family and their situation. Um, it's so cool. You get a good character, and then they go, hey, guess what? Your character is going to die in this scene. You're coming back as this other character. That's also great. And like an archangel, so you don't have to do anything. You don't have to, there's no rules because you're not even a human. So just go play on screen. So now you're playing a real
Yeah.
person, a make-believe entity, or whatever you want to call it. And everybody's there to support you, right? Jared and Jensen are the first two guys that are there to like make you do good, and that trickles down to everybody else. And Going back to the God character for a second, I always look at that and I envy writers because I can write not well. Like I can write inside my mind, which I guess isn't really writing, it's called thinking. But
Well, there's a reason why you're an actor and I'm a writer, and that's okay because you're pretty and the guns are out
oh, oh my
as
God,
you
so
fix your
bad.
blouse.
I envy as I fix my blouse. Good, let me get a shoulder out there for you. Um, I envy writers though, like, and especially what they did with that Rob God Chuck, character at Supernatural, because I'm like, really, the overseer, the god of the series, especially if it's successful and they've kept the writer from the beginning or for a long time, is the writer, right? I mean, he's writing the Bible of the show, and or she, and they're that to make that storyline, right? It's almost like inside baseball within the episode when you're
Yeah.
you're watching the show being created from a character's perspective, but kind of through the writer's eyes is how he would see himself overseeing this, monstrosity or whatever. I just thought it was so cool how they did that and ended up shaping, Rob into the kind of big bad at the end, right? Now Rob's literally, he's like, man, I was loved for so long, and now everybody hated his character at the end, which is a good twist. It's a good, I like it.
Well, I think I honestly never kind of thought about the similarities that you could say public domain has about a supernatural. Like, we want multiple versions of characters, we want unique voices, we want crazy stuff, but also like at some point we want to make you laugh, we want to make you cry. There's one Supernatural episode, the High School Musical, about them, where
Yeah,
they're like straight up. I remember legitimately having tears in my eyes, and one of these little high school girls was like, "Oh, it's the BM moment," and the what Jared or Jensen or one of them is like BM, like I know what BM stands for, and like no, I forget what the acronym was, but it was like the brotherly moment where at the
right.
end of every episode they sit on the hood of the car and they have a heart to heart,
Yeah,
and you're making a poop joke, you're doing a sentimental thing, you're paying like fan service and probably like seven other emotional layers all at the same time.
yeah.
And hopefully, public domain will do some version of that. Like we're playing to nostalgia, we're playing to fart jokes, we're playing to literary jokes. Like in our pilot, there's a whole bunch of references that are direct quotes from the original, say, Peter Pan, like J.M. Barrie's play where Wendy says something like "never is such a long time," and you're like, it's an emotional moment, and it's a direct reference for those hardcore literary fans.
Yeah,
It works on a TV level, but also in the background, there's like two characters like going to Pound Town on each other.
yeah.
And you're like, a project should work on multiple levels if it's doing everything it should.
I mean, realistically, public domain works on 100,000 different levels of success. It really does. And when people that want to be involved with the project because it seems fun, well, then it is a fun process making that project, and therefore you get a really great product, a product that was made by a bunch of people having a good time. And I think public domain does that. And like you said, right, it delivers on all these different things from nostalgia to the heartfelt moments to the fart joke and the poop line, like whatever it is, it's going to deliver. It's also going to have that moment where you're like, wow, that was kind of a sweet, it's going to have that twinkle. It'll have a twinkle in its eye. I think that's kind of the let's not call it Disney magic. Let's call it the Sean
The off-brand,
the
non-union
Sean
equivalent.
spice. We'll put the Sean spices on top. But it's going to have all those things. And at the end of the day, if guys like us don't just say, let's pull the trigger and get something done, figure out how to make it, let's go to the people that are going to watch it, let's go out to the fans, let's raise money, let's make it successful with them, by them, for them, grassroots, effort. Let's all be successful together. And I think Hollywood, as much as we'll still be making movies and selling movies and this and that, there's going to be a lot more dependency on independent filmmakers and independent artists to make things like this, get it off the ground, and with success, pull in people to invest and let us continue carrying on in our very non-dependent, independent way of creating these projects. I think it's Hollywood 2.0, a lot of people are calling it, but I think it's going to be heavily influenced by independent filmmakers and the marriage of everything from independent filmmakers to independent influencers and so on and so forth, all across the board. And we got to get the help of the people, right? So the people have got to go to Indiegogo and they got to get a perk. And I was talking about this, Sean, and you tell me if you agree with me. I think if you seek a perk from me or somebody involved, let us know. Let's see what we could do. We might be able to persuade,
Yeah.
nudge, manipulate, whatever you want to call it, into getting almost any perk possible. We really want to make this happen. And I think and we're gonna be with you all through the holidays on Indiegogo. Sean and I are gonna team up. We're gonna do some happy hours during Thanksgiving and just chat and touch base, answer your questions, and try to get you guys involved in any way, shape, or form. Sean, what else can we tell these people to make sure they are up to date on all the public domain? We got an Instagram going, a couple different things.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important things is like, why are we doing it? Is like nobody's getting stuff done in Hollywood. We want to do it. We've got the voice, we've got the talent, we've got the scripts. I've written just for fun because I can't stop. I've got 6 episodes written.
Yeah,
So it's literally just we want to make it, put it out there, and show everybody this is what you're missing
yeah,
so that somebody can come through and be like, hey, here's 33 seasons and counting, just like The Simpsons, because we can do it. And I promise you, we will last more than season 10, 11, 12, depending how you feel about The Simpsons. Like, our quality will maintain because we have an endless world. So we want the support now so that we can build a self-sustaining system and bring this crazy ass content that we think you all want to see.
and we absolutely promise the greatest holiday episodes, the greatest musical episodes, all those episodes that like the guilty pleasure person inside you has always said, "Ooh, what would it look like if Cthulhu and King Kong and the Little Mermaid were in this scenario?" We are making all those episodes. I promise you, because we can't not do it, and we just need your help. So show up, support. What do we say? Like, engage, subscribe, click, hit enter. I don't know what's dial up. Put your dial up modem
DM,
on, and
slide
yeah,
into my no-nos. I don't know. What
yeah.
do the kids say anymore?
Do all the things. Don't.
Are we rizzing hard? Did
I
we
am.
rizz?
Man, I've been risen. It's been super sus, and I got the Rizzy sus, and it's all as one. It's one big land of confusion at this point, I guess you could say.
I don't know what most of those words are, but I will say Hollywood is mid and we are trying to rizz.
Listen, I'm trying
So,
to get some broccoli
something.
hair going, like cool kid hair, the broccoli style, the cabbage head or whatever ever all the kids are doing.
Is that what the kids are doing?
I don't know. They all got this long hair that like hangs forward and does the swoopsy swoops in the front.
Oh yeah. Well, I try not to pay attention because Urban Outfitters seems to think they just discovered 1992. But for those of us who have actually 1992'd already, I was like, I don't want a whole bunch of ugly baggy clothes that I didn't want to wear 35 years ago.
How it's so crazy that the clothes have taken the baggy turn again. Isn't it wild?
I mean, I assume we're about 12 months away from Corn Freak on a Leash, Jinko jeans, and everybody wearing those what is the silver ball necklaces.
Yeah. Also my midlife crisis, because that sounds like heaven and I never want to age out of that time. And like
As long
me,
as you slump down like Velma and just sort of Ugh.
And I got a CD player hooked to my waistband that I can only walk so fast with it, or it'll skip. You know what I'm saying? I have that on. I got high top white BK Knights and
God.
scrunchy white socks because for some reason dudes thought that was really cool for a brief time.
I just
Um,
realized that means we're like, let's call it 10 years away from iPods going back to being retro, and
oh my,
then Apple making another $1 billion by being like, what if we just rebuilt this thing that is now completely obsolete and in your phone, but we're gonna charge you like six, seven, $800 for it.
yes,
It's ironic that there's no phone in your iPhone anymore. You're like,
Apple
well, and
is
that'll be the death of phones. So
Apple is going to literally come out with a brick phone. We're going to go that direction. That Zach Morris shit, you know, the
I miss my BlackBerry.
Blackberries were
Give me a
good.
QWERTY board that my fat thumbs can actually be like, here's how I actually feel, as opposed to, oops, I pressed too hard,
And
and
it's like
now
a
I
gadget.
deleted that app altogether.
And it was like a gadget. It had little teeny tiny buttons. It was cool. Like where the
Yeah,
iPhone is cool, it's just the screen, but the other thing was like, I got a miniature gadget. I could hack the intraweb.
I still have my original Game Boy, my Game Boy Pocket, and my Game Boy Color. And I'm like, I assume at some point these will be worth the equivalent of Bitcoin
You better start
because
playing
they'll
those
become cool
tonight.
again,
I will be
as
playing
opposed to
those.
like sad, ironic old man be like, ticka, 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 ticka. Oh, I'm still with it. Oh,
I love gold. Man, talk about a good series of movies. Austin Powers, like, come on.
ew. That last one, Beyonce deserves better.
I know, but they're so bad, they're good. It's oh my gosh, I seen that trailer for
Oh, the first two are
Tiptoes.
amazing. I still walk around sometimes singing, which goes really well with my fiance. The Elvis Costello song about I'll never fall in love again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, oh did I fuck up? It's like, well, you're singing that sad Elvis Costello song about never believing in love. It's like, well, maybe try harder. Otherwise, it's just an Austin Powers reference that makes me happy. But also, maybe it comes to mind for a certain reason. I don't know.
Every time I'm like sitting around and it's like the holidays and I'm on the couch and I've eaten like dinner four times, I always think of Fat Bastard going,
Get in my belly.
no, he's got so many good lines, but he says something
But it's like,
like I'm sad because I eat and I eat because I'm sad or something, and I always sit there on the couch and I'm like, "Ugh, that's how I feel right now." And then he goes, I've got a crap on deck that'll kill a donkey.
talk about a man who basically just spent most of his career perfecting Shrek.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, actually, probably my favorite celebrity encounter ever. I was in a park in Brooklyn. There were like four or five of us having a picnic, and Mike Myers walks by, and my friend whispers, "That's Mike Myers." And not me, I will say it definitely was not me, but somebody shouts, "The serial killer?" And Mike Myers just like turns beet red and his like Canadian side, like, hi guys, like, it's me.
That's
I
awesome.
know. You implied my name and here I am.
Did you ever see I think it was called So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yeah. I
That was with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the best movie by far.
Yeah.
I watch it as many times as streaming will allow because it comes and goes two or three times a year. But
They
some of
think you're a
those Toby
bot.
homes are the best cinema we've seen, I'm gonna say, since World War II.
Um, okay. Right now, if you had to say greatest piece of unintentional comedy movie ever made that comes to mind that you could come up with.
Oh God.
And I'm only asking you this because that Tiptoes movie with Matthew McConaughey was brought to my attention. I watched it and I was like,
Oh.
I don't understand. Are is this they went full serious on this? And then I recently heard Matthew McConaughey talking about it on like a podcast, and he said, yeah, they showed up to deliver like a real heartfelt performance in that film. But I'm like, that those are the type of movies that make these great unintentional comedies. Why you think I'll deliver this one? And this is it's kind of tragic unintentional comedy, but the bear, there was this documentary of this bear guy who ends up getting eaten at the end of the documentary.
Grizzly Man, yeah. That is the longest movie to culminate in like, and by the way, off screen, he was eaten by a bear.
Right,
And you're
which
just
is
like, oh, okay, cool. That's murder. So the
right.
point of this documentary is he got murdered by a bear, but also best wishes, love you.
But shout out to the team because great unintentional comedy. I mean, really.
God, unintentional. I feel like I laugh at everything, especially when I'm high.
Can we please remake Big Trouble in Little China? I can't look at my poster anymore. We gotta make it.
I think they were supposed to, and they realized that like you can't get away with half of that shit anymore.
I know, it's so absurd. But we can PC it a little bit. It doesn't have to be what it was, you know?
Yeah, you don't have to be
But it still has to be
like,
wacky.
oh, actually that's one answer is what is it? Andy Rooney playing Asian face in Breakfast at Tiffany's. We're just
Oh
like
yeah.
some of those period, like let's get a white guy to do something that's wildly racist now.
Yeah.
And they're like, award-winning movie, Audrey Hepburn, it's amazing, Moon River. Also, what if we had the equivalent of a white guy pulling his eyes and just going like, "Oh, paid that rent," and you're like, "Wow, that's not cool."
Uh,
God, what do I laugh? Oh, we're
I
gonna have to episode 2 of this. We're gonna have to revisit because I literally laugh at everything, whether I'm supposed to or not. And then the
That's
most
good.
random things will just have me ugly cry.
Oh my God, I cry any movie that involves an animal, specifically a dog, but like any animal,
Oh,
and I'm a sucker
yeah.
for it because I see it and I'm like, I need to watch this because I'm a dog person. I love dogs, and it is the worst. Like I am ugly crying every dog movie. Thank you, Milo Ventimiglia, and that nonsense movie you made that ripped my heart out.
I will actively not watch dog movies now because I am A, quite literally wearing a hoodie with my dead dog on it, and I have a tattoo of him right here.
Oh
It's
my
like, you know
gosh.
what's real fun when your best friend's gone is
Oh
watching All Dogs Go to Heaven or Homeward Bound.
no.
It's like, no, I don't care that Shadow made it out of that hole at the end because in my mind there was a hole to begin with, and that hole will never be refilled.
Oh my God. Brr, 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 brr.
But
I feel like
in lighter note,
we
it's
got to
like,
salute. And that's a wrap to the public domain podcast.
yeah, I don't know how we top that or dig out of that hole. So,
um, we did. I think we. How long have we been on here? I can't tell. It's been
I
like
don't
an
know,
hour-ish. All right, we should get the
almost an
hell out of
hour.
here and rendezvous again. I mean, is there anything else we need to say? We need to say this. You're going to see a link. It's in all my socials. You're going to see it on Sean's bios and everywhere we can put the link. Go get involved. Some of the people we've announced, right? We got Rob Benedict, the God from Supernatural, and Splinter from this most recent season of The Boys. You have Richard Spade Jr. from Band of Brothers, and he played the trickster and a longtime director on Supernatural. You have Ruth Connell, who is just Ruth Connell, Brianna Buckmaster, some of these people that are already involved and announced in public domain. Who else do we? I think we said Adam Fergus, my wife Mandy Musgrave. We are drawing everybody back in, and everybody's going to get involved. So go to the link. Find a perk you like. Tweet me if you want another perk. We're going to add those perks. Come see me in Orlando this weekend and in Nashville the first weekend of December. Take a picture with me. Help raise money for a good cause. We're going to make that good ass entertainment you've been craving for a long time. And we're going to do it with your help. And you guys are really going to be the producers behind producing your next favorite adult animated cartoon sitcom. So you're welcome in advance. And not that he's like a special guest or anything. He's kind of my, I can't do anything without him at this point. Okay, let's just be honest. This is what it
I
is.
mean,
His
we
name.
text each other gifts on the toilet, so
We
we're like
are we
husbands.
are we are each other's ladies on the side, and we're both fine with that role, and so are our spouses, and it's going to lead to us being very successful in making these funny ass shows, these reinvented, reimagined characters and concepts telling stories, the ones you want to hear. So we are going to see you soon. Sean and I are going to get together over Thanksgiving, over Christmas. We're going to fill you guys in. We're going to brief you. We're going to have tons of information, new actors being added constantly. And really, the only reason I'm cutting this podcast short is because I have got to pee, so we have to say goodbye. And that's just how it goes. Sean, any final words to the audience or whoever's going to see this?
Cheers, because I've been double fisting the whole time.
Public
Um,
domain, where everybody
Donate and
knows your
support.
name
Thank
all too
you.
well.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.